podcast. I am your host, Meredith Willits, and I am here with Tina Maddigan. She has performed on Broadway. She's award-winning. She was Sophia in Mamma Mia. She has interviewed Denzel Washington. She's interviewed Matt Damon. You have no idea what you're about to watch today, so stay with us.
You're listening to the TikTok Famous Podcast, where viral fame meets raw reality. Join your host, Meredith Willits, as she dives deep with your favorite creators to uncover the real stories behind the scroll, the highs, the lows, the algorithm chaos, and everything in between. This is not your average interview. This is the TikTok Famous Podcast.
Okay, I have literally unplugged everything on my side. You are up and running. We're going to do this again and just pray for the best. Tina, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all of your behind the scenes, everything from Broadway to television and all the good stuff that you're doing right now. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your patience.
Oh gosh, it is what it is.
But hopefully we're good. I'm ready to go.
We are good and ready to go. So I'm already getting text messages from friends who are huge Broadway enthusiasts. But I have to go back to that moment we started talking in our first recording, what it was like when you realized, holy shit, my life has completely changed now that you're doing this role of lead on Mamma Mia.
I think for me, it was opening night. And I was saying before, like my dresser, Carrie Bertini, coming in and saying like, hey, it's 10 minutes to curtain. Are you ready to go? And I was like, girl, I'm putting on my nail polish to match my dress for opening night. And I think when I went out and saw like all the cameras flashing and all the people and how the big hubbub it was, I don't think it really registered. And then, you know, the show comes down and then you've got to go to a press thing and then you've got to go to a red carpet. And I'm like, oh, this is like really big. Like, this is kind of a big deal. I think it was at that moment that I realized that this was bigger than kind of what I had imagined in my mind. And that there was probably expectations that I needed to live up to. And I was ready to step up to the plate and raise to those expectations. But I think for me, you know, the difference in Canada and America is actually a little bit different. So things in Canada seemed a little bit slow paced when we were out on the road. And then when you get to the States, like everything is flashbulbs. And that's kind of what that life seems to be like. I just got to keep swimming. I just got to keep swimming. I just got to keep swimming. And I think at that moment, it was big for me because I realized how big it was at that time. Also, it was September 11th is when we were opening. Oh, and I think at that time, it was a big realization for me that this was a show that I had performed before, but people needed this show. It wasn't just like, this is my big break. It didn't feel like that for me at the time when I stepped out on stage. But then when I started realizing the effect that the show was having on people that really needed it during such a hard time in America, it made me feel like I needed to spend an hour or two at the stage door because people wanted to share their stories with you about what they were going through. And I think at that time, I realized the effect that it can have on not just the older generation, like moms and dads, but the younger generation of, there was a young girl that was really influenced by the show. And Katie Couric arranged for an interview. We gave her a day at the theater. She stayed in my dressing room. We did her hair. We brought her out on stage. But, you know, she'd lost her dad in 9/11 and her dream was to be on Broadway. So I think when things like that start happening, you're realizing it's not just about the Broadway show. It's about the effect that you can leave with people when the curtain comes down. So that's what I think it was for me. Yeah.
I mean, wow, like what a memorable moment. I didn't know that. That's crazy. And I think it is. People take something completely different, or people need art for completely different reasons. And we might never know why. We might never know what is touching a person for art or theater or music or any of these things. One of the questions I got was about being a Broadway actress. They wanted to know, does every single role have an understudy? Like if someone gets sick, like is there someone that's always prepared in the background for if something happens?
So on Broadway, yes, 100%. There's usually
Wow.
anywhere from 3 swings to 8 swings, maybe. And
Wow.
I know for me as a performer, I could never do the job of somebody that is a swing in a show. When you are a swing, you're hired to cover a certain amount of roles. And so one person on one hire may have to cover 5 different roles. And in those 5 different roles, there may be 3 ensemble people and 2 lead people. So let's say if Sophie calls out, there's usually three people know the role. If this girl is out, then this girl gets to go in. And if she is doing another track, then the third version has to go in. So there's always
Wow.
usually 3 people that know a leading part, and then there's always 5 people that know any of the chorus parts. So the show, it has to keep going. During COVID, when people were not aware of what was really going on with COVID, there was a lot of people going down, and there was some of the swing people were coming off stage after singing a lead part and changing into their ensemble gear, going and doing a dance part, and then switching into their lead clothes and then going back out again. That's the job of a swing. I'm telling you, it is a special skill. And I commend anybody that does it, because the show cannot go on without our swings. They're extremely, extremely important for the industry of performing on live stage. Yes.
So you sit there and you think, "Oh my gosh, you have the role." But the swing people have to know all these parts and then
Yeah.
sometimes change character. Like you go in, you're Sophia, you're Sophie, you're going in, you know your method, you're in
Yeah.
your whatever for the
Uh-huh.
they have to go and be this person and that person and then change clothes and become another person. Like that's insane.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is too, is that sometimes it'll happen in the middle of a show. There'll be an injury. There was one time somebody went through a trap door and broke her ribs. They paused the show for a minute. They got the understudy suited up, and within seconds she was on stage and ready to go. I mean, I can't imagine being like in the middle of defying gravity, and then you come down and the trap door comes down and you're like, oh, her ribs broke. Oh, and the understudy goes on. So just think of that actor that's sitting behind stage. He's probably watching episodes of Stranger Things or Schitt's Creek, and then they're like, we need Meredith to the booth, please. You're on ASAP." She doesn't know what role. She goes into the wig room, and they're dressing her for Elphaba. There's no time to look in her binder. There's no time to look in her notes. She needs to be on,
Oh,
on. And all of a sudden, they're like, there's an announcement. The role usually played by Tina Madigan Mayer tonight will be played by Meredith. The show will, this type of thing. So, and that's when big things on Broadway.com started happening. Did you hear that somebody broke their ribs and the understudy had to go on and she was amazing? So things like that to me also make theater really, really exciting and keeps you on your toes and makes it feel so alive and there. I don't really wish anybody to break their ribs, because that is a singer's like nightmare. But yeah, it is to me, it is astounding. Now, I have lived the standby life, which is different. For The Wedding Singer, I was hired to be Laura Benanti's stand-in for Drew Barrymore. So I was on a principal contract. I made the same amount of money as Laura did, and then some, because you're a standby. So if Laura calls out, I'm ready to go in, but that is the only role that I am there for. So I sit 7 days a week on a just in case contract. And
wow.
that to me was, yeah, the first time I was called to go on, we were heading into the theater at like 7:15, and I had eaten a huge feed of Thai food. And my husband's dad was visiting from Kansas City, and they're like, Tina Madigan to the office. And I was like, oh, what did I mess up now? Like, what did I do? What did I leave somewhere? Because I was always like leaving little notes for the cast or playing little jokes on the lead guy, Steven. And they were like, yeah, you're on, you got to get suited up. I had no wig. I didn't have a full costume fitting, nothing. And I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. And my husband had to run home, even get my stage makeup kit, because I mean, she was usually on.
Yeah.
Anyway, to make a long story short, I don't think I will ever forget the butterflies that I had that night. And it was a joy, even though, Laura had to leave for a little bit because of a neck injury, it was an absolute blessing to get to do that show for a long period of time, because I got to take over for her. She left on a medical leave because of an injury. So it was great to have my name in the program. It was great to say that I officially got cast in the role, because then I had understudies that understudied me.
Yeah.
But in the interim, so yeah, I will say the jobs of standbys and swings are well, the show can't go on without them. So.
And we have no idea being in the audience. We just think, oh, things are just happening.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
okay.
usually there'll be something in your program that'll say tonight's role in Rent will be played by so and so, usually played by, whoever. So
Yeah.
the audience usually does get to know, because, if you go to see, Hamilton, and you want to see, Leslie Odom, did I say his name right? Anyway,
I think
if
so.
if you want to go there to see the lead and the lead is not on, people might get upset. So obviously you try to let them know ahead of time, but
Yeah.
life is life and things happen. That's just it. We try to do the best we can to put the cast on that people pay a ticket for, but sometimes it's just not possible.
Sorry. Sometimes you freeze. So if you see me not moving,
I know,
it's because
and sometimes you freeze too. So I'm just like, okay, I think I got the question and we're here. Sorry.
So can I ask, like, it's so different being a content creator, because you decide when you want to record, you can hit delete, you could re-record it 700 times. Even if you're on a live, no one gives a shit. Like, it's such a different, but that said, you are a very different kind of content creator. Like, I come on and I just talk, and sometimes I have coffee stained teeth, and sometimes I actually look okay. But you create characters on TikTok, which then goes to Instagram and vice versa.
Right.
What goes behind that, and how is your TikTok journey like kind of unfolded, and how do you use it? I know I'm asking you 3 questions, but I'm like watching you in my brain doing all these characters. Like, what is that for you? What is that about?
I think for me, being a character started off at a very young age. I lost my dad really young. And I think for me, seeing my mom raising 2 kids on her own, I sort of wanted to step up to the plate and fill her with laughter and happiness. And I feel like SNL really did that for me. Billy Crystal, Dana Carvey, all those comedians, they were sort of the inspirations for me. And Robin Williams going forward with, comedy as a whole. And, when I created characters or did voices for my mom, she would smile. And obviously that was a dopamine hit for me. And then I wanted to make her keep smiling. I think that's where the love of characters started for me. And then it slowly, gradually, the Queen, obviously, came out of a vocal injury, which, I mean, that was right before COVID. I was getting ready to go into a show, and I was having pins and needles in my arm. And when I went in, they were kind of like, listen, you need to have disc replacement surgery immediately. Like, there's a chance if you slip at Target, you may not walk again. So, this is pretty serious. Went in and did the surgery, and they went through the front of my neck instead of the back. They were hoping to go through the back to replace, knowing that I was a vocalist. So they let me know that, hey, listen, there's a chance that your vocal cords could be affected. And obviously they were. My vocal cords were paralyzed after that. And that was probably the most daunting thing that I could hear was, hey, listen, the chances are pretty high that you won't sing again. And then you try to reinvent yourself, and you're like, but wait a second. And I will say this, like, my neurologist, the surgeon, Dr. Beatty was his name. He was a sweet little man. I want you to imagine like a little version of Mr. Belvedere. And he had a little bow tie, and he was soft spoken and had this sweet mustache. He used to play classical music. He has a piano at the hospital. He would play classical music before every operation. He said, it keeps my fingers limber. He just thought it was neat that we had the connection of music.
Yeah.
And he said, now that, this is the chance. And I just remember his face saying, I'm so sorry of all the people, for this 1% chance for it to hit somebody whose life is singing. He said, I'm so sorry, but both him and a friend of ours in our neighborhood, Dr. Yursik, connected us with the best vocal pedagogues and the best vocal doctors that we could see here in Kansas City, who got quickly on a vocal pedagogue, who got quickly on, dropping that camera down into the back of your throat to see what was going on. And you could see, your vocal cords should go like this. and one was moving and one wasn't. One was just trying. So I did. I started working with a pedagogue, but my voice was very like this. So it and it was very hard to speak. And it was a little more high pitched because I was pinching to get the sound out. And then COVID came along. And then I discovered TikTok. And I started sharing my story a little bit. And it was hard to even speak through those videos. So the kids kind of did quite a few videos, just, being silly down in the basement, until I discovered actually Anna Riley OK was one of the first people that I followed. And she was just being silly and being herself. And I was like, oh my God, this is fun. I can do this all day. I can entertain myself all day. Well, the kids are doing online school. They were having fun with it. I was having fun with it. But that's where the character of the Queen came along. And I just changed her voice into a British accent. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the Queen. That's still me till today. So I decided that the characters had a different life. They brought back something else in me that I thought was dead, which was my speaking voice. And I took the speaking voice that I was left with and created the Queen. And from there met, so many people that I now consider such lifelong friends through TikTok and through Instagram. I will say not so much through Instagram because I couldn't really get the hang of it with my ADHD, but TikTok seemed very user-friendly for me. Yep. Easy to post, easy to go in and edit and do all the things. So I found a love in TikTok, and I think the characters just became more and more. And even like somebody would suggest, hey, you should create a character that loves hot dogs. And I was just like, oh, I wonder what that character looks like. And it just made you keep thinking. And it kept my brain busy during COVID. And it was fun to be supported by the audience of people that sort of embraced it and made you feel foolish again. So that really, for me, the characters are just a place where I just love to live. I love singing. I love doing all that stuff. I love teaching so much. But for me, I would rather be doing this interview as a character than myself. But I feel like as we get older, we start saying, why am I so embarrassed that I've put on weight? Why am I so embarrassed that my boobs are no longer as perky as they used to be? And you start to get that no F's kind of attitude. And if 100%. Anything, that's where Stupid Face came from, was just like, I'm ridiculous. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but this is who I am. And then I started going, well, if I feel like this, maybe there's other people out there that feel like this. They feel stupid. No, I couldn't do a podcast. No, I couldn't stand in front of people and talk, but you have a story to tell. So help. I want to help you get your story out. I want to help you get a little bit more confidence. So I think whether that's through characters or whether that's through online, like teaching, which I've been loving doing, I think that's kind of the joy that the characters have sort of brought to me. I'm sitting here looking at racks and Tupperwares of wigs and costumes and props, and there's my Mamma Mia boots just there. But I feel like it's not just the props that make people laugh or make the character come to life. You really do have to breathe a little bit of backstory into the Queen. Why is she on TikTok?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, well, my son, Charles, is an idiot. Now she's got a New York accent. But I think for me, it was just really fun to kind of create the different layers that a character could have. And there's more characters to come. When something like Chit goes viral online, I'm like, oh my God, I want to hop on that. I want to see how close to that character I can get that impression. And if anything, I feel like the vocal paralysis almost helped strengthen my vocal cords even more. So not that I can perfect his mannerisms and success, but I get a thrill out of trying to mimic somebody else's sound. So that doing impressions is a real high for me.
I love that. You also, oddly, were turned down for a job as an usher at the very place they Can you hear me now?
I can. You were gone, but I kind of knew where the question was going, so I just tried to.
Hi. Yeah, you got turned down for a job, and then you turn around and you're the lead in Mamma Mia. Like, what is that? That is the story of don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah. So essentially, when I graduated a little bit early, went out on a cruise ship. When I came off the cruise ship, I was like, okay, here we go. Now it's to the big leagues. You want to be working at the Royal Alexandra Theatre in Toronto. And I was like, so how can I best know the theater? How can I best get to know the people? I was like, apply for an usher job. So I applied for an usher job and of course got, rejected. And I was just like, wow, that's so weird. I want to inquire about that. And I wrote to them and I was like, hey, I was just wondering, what did I miss out on? Is it some kind of benefit I don't have? Is there a paperwork I didn't fill out? And they were like, no, you just kind of don't have the qualifications to be an usher. Now, I did not know we needed qualifications to be an usher. I thought it was just people that loved theater and wanted to be friendly and could greet people and probably knew their alphabet. Well, maybe they knew how long I had to go A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, you're in row 6, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. But yeah, I think for me, getting turned down for that usher job was kind of a kick to the can. And I was like, okay, I guess I gotta go another route. And then, of course, the auditions for Mamma Mia came up, and I ended up booking the part. I mean, my agent at the time was like, "You're not right for that role," and I was like, "No, I am perfect for this role." And she was like, "I'm not submitting you," and I was like, "I'm going to the open call then." She's like, "If you go to the open call, I'm going to drop you as a client." And I said, "Then consider me gone."
Stop it.
Yeah, and I went to the open call, and like 3 days later, I got a phone call from her, and she goes, "Well, you broke every rule." And I was like, yep, I know. I went to the open call and she said, well, you got a call back. So I guess I'll eat my words. So that's kind of how that went. And, it was probably.
Did you fire her?
I did after I booked it.
Good girl.
I made sure I booked it first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was probably a year of callbacks, honestly, for me, for Mamma Mia. But when I finally did get the part,
wait, did you just say you had a year of callbacks for one role?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was almost a year. Yeah, that you're hanging on to the, oh my gosh, what if? Oh gosh, there's an open call for Rent today. I guess I'll go to that. Oh, there's an open call for Beauty and the Beast. I guess I'll go to that. Because at the time, I was equity, but it was still very difficult to get into equity auditions if you didn't have an agent that was really pushing for you. So yeah, Sandy, if you're listening,
right.
But yeah, I think for me, when I walked in and ended up getting that role of Sophie and walked into the office to get my script, when she handed me the script, I said, wow, this is so weird. This is the same place that I dropped off my resume to be an usher. And she was like, what did you just say? And I said, oh
right.
yeah, I applied to be an usher here. And you guys said I didn't have the qualifications. They were like, no. And they went to this filing cabinet and took out these resumes. And I had my little, my colorful Elle Woods resume, because I thought it would make them see my resume more. Took out my resume, yeah, and it said like declined on the front of it. And they were like, oh my God, we have to run with this. And that's how the Toronto Star and things like that started running. Turned down for an usher, ends up landing lead role. I mean, it's a press, wow. It's a reporter's, dream for a story. And they kind of, they ran with it. And for me, I didn't realize it at the time, but I mean, Mamma Mia was big. It's still running.
Still big.
And you didn't realize like what you were a part of, but you were just thrilled to have a job and be back in the theater and on stage. But even at that time, I was like, oh my gosh, this was the dream, to be at the Royal Alex Theater. Because when I applied to Sheridan College and my mom drove me up, we went to see Crazy for You there. And we got like the last row of the theater, like nosebleed seats. And I just fell in love. And I was like, Mom, do you think I will ever be on a stage this big? And she was like, if you work super hard, I know you can. And so to think like 3 years later, I was opening up Mamma Mia, an original production, was, I was pretty proud of myself. But I don't think I realized how proud till it's all gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't realize what you're in when it's actually happening. If I'm talking too much, I'm so sorry. Obviously,
no,
my Adderall
please
is getting ready
don't
to
shut
kick
up.
Right in here.
Well, actually, when you were just talking, because your son just had his last marching band performance.
No, we're not going to. No, stop. We're not crying. This is not an Oprah moment, woman.
But while I was brushing my teeth this morning, that's what hit me was he doesn't know what just ended, and you do. You get what the ramifications are of you can't go back. You'll never, ever have that energy ever again, but you do get that. You do see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think that was the amazing thing with me is, talking with him yesterday and saying like, how do you feel about all this? And he was like, I feel good. I feel sad. I don't, and I don't think for him at the time he was, I know that he realized it, but when you wake up the next day, the come down is actually real.
Yeah.
It's like an emotional hangover. So he's going to take it day by day. But last night he got some of the seniors together and said, let's go out for a bite to eat. So maybe other people are feeling the same way that I am. And we had some of the kids back here for some s'mores, whoever could come. And I think just giving kids a safe place to be able to go and chat and talk, whether not through their phones, not through texting, not through Snapchatting, because those are not real emotions that we can visually see with our
Yeah.
eyes. They're just words that are on a screen. And with social media, the way that it is now, to see, dead bodies in Gaza, somebody getting beaten up on the side of the road, ICE pulling somebody out of a car. Oh, look, kittens.
Right.
We're so
Literally
we're so desensitized. Is that a word?
desensitized.
Desensitized. There you go. From a lot of this stuff that I think it was important for him to get his group together and just say, let's get everybody together, have a chat, see what happens. And God bless him for that, because I think he felt better last night. I felt better last night seeing some of the kids, and it's something that this is the first time that he's getting that experience of, wow, I made a difference. And now that's done.
Yeah.
If that's done, how do I make another difference? So
Yeah.
that'll be, his path to try to figure out. I mean, obviously myself and my husband will be there to try to help him and guide him, as any parent kind of does. But yeah, I think he's going to be okay, but it is definitely difficult for a parent, I'm sure. Anybody else that's been there knows that it's hard seeing your kid going through that. So, because marching band is only like this much time and then it's done,
Yeah.
all that work. But it's
Yeah.
like a show. When the show comes down, so do a lot of highs of emotion in your body. So yeah, it is very, very similar, but I think he'll be okay.
How did you deal with that? I mean, 2000 shows. How do you keep it fresh? How do you go back out the next day, and act like you've never done it before? You're fresh, you're ready. These are new eyes, and keep that sort of momentum and excitement show after show after show. Like, that's no joke. That is endurance.
Um, for others, it may be difficult. I think for me, it was pretty easy, because for me, it was my opportunity that some young kid in the audience was going to say, I want to grow up and I want to be Sophie. I want to be that girl that, that played that role. So every time I walk out on stage, I realize that it's not just the 30 people that are Mamma Mia fans that come back to see the show and say, oh, I saw that you messed up on that line, or I saw somebody miss their entrance. You have people that are coming to see that show for the first time, and that is your
Yeah.
job. That's what you're getting paid for, to perform that show as if it's the first time that it's come out of your mouth. I mean, there's always things
Yeah.
that happen that keep you really live on your feet. But for me, that was really the biggest. That this is your opportunity to be an inspiration, and every eye in that audience is seeing it for the first time. And if you go in with that in mind, it makes it a little bit easier for me anyway.
So, like, when you get that, yes, you've made the cut. Like, you're the person. From that moment to opening night, how much time are you actually preparing for a role and, doing all the things to get ready for the show to become live?
Yeah. You get 6 weeks is
Wait,
what it normally.
what?
Yeah. 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 You get 6 weeks for a Broadway show. And normally when you do a show, they'll do like an out of town trial. So for like Wedding Singer, they
Yeah.
did want to do an out of town trial because Adam, look at me dropping Adam's name like he's my best friend. He's not.
Adam and I, we go way
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
Adam Sandler, guys.
Sandler and Tim Herlihy, who both obviously wrote for SNL, they really wanted to try the comedic stuff outside of Broadway before it hit there. So we actually went and tried the show first in Seattle. And then when we got back to Broadway, there was actually songs that did not make the Broadway company that we
Wow.
performed in Seattle that they just thought helped move the storyline along better. So it's an opportunity for the writers and the creatives to kind of tweak the story so it has its best option with its audience. So it has its best options for Tony Awards and things like that. So that's normally what happens, but it's 6 weeks. We went back to New York then and we tweaked the show. Then we did another rehearsal run for 6 weeks, and tweaked everything, learned new choreography. And then, the show pretty much goes up, after 6
I literally
weeks.
thought you were going to say like a year.
Oh my gosh. No. I mean, I think 8 weeks is probably one of the longest that I've heard of. And that's like if it's a heavy dance, a heavy dance show. But yeah, it's normally 6 to 8 weeks. That's what you get. And then you're out there. Now, a lot of shows that have a large financial backing, they usually do, they'll do a lot of previews.
Yeah.
So during previews, even you can still say, hey, we don't like that song the way it is. We're going to change this verse and that verse. So you're going out on stage and like, wait, which verse is switched? But when the show opens, like if your opening night is October 20th and you are open tonight, the show is locked then legally after opening night. So everything would then be, nothing else can change after that. So then at least if you've made opening, know the show. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. So you also, let's see here. I mean, I have like a mile long like bio for you because you're excuse me, just done so much. You were also in The Wedding Singer, starring lead role Julia Sullivan. You also did Nickelodeon Bet the House, hosting Daily Dirt for Sprint TV, and you interviewed Robert De Niro, Denzel Washington, Matt Damon, Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Ben Stiller, just to name a few.
Yeah.
What was one of the actors that really stands out and you were like, wow, that person was really freaking generous? Like that was a moment to meet that person. Or do you like not even care because you're in there too?
No, I mean, for me, especially doing those interviews, that was when I was doing The Wedding Singer. Actually, I had that job as well. And that was with Sprint TV. I mean, they're press junkets, right? So it's for their movies. So you get to go see the movie. Okay. And then you get to sit and ask them all about, the movie. I think for me, it was just, well, I don't know. How much time do you have? How much gossip do you really want to know?
All of it. I have 3 hours and 74 minutes.
There you go. I think for me, one of the biggest things was Hugh Jackman. And, because he had done musical theater as well.
Yeah, he's a musical theater guy.
Exactly, yeah. And so when I got to go in and interview him, right at the end of the interview, I was like, by the way, I'm auditioning for Leap of Faith. Because he was in the talks for Leap of Faith. And he's like, what? I said, oh, yeah. I said, my background is Broadway. And he goes, wait, hang on. And he tells everyone in the room, like, 1 second. He goes, what do you mean your background is Broadway? And I said, well, I'm doing The Wedding Singer on Broadway right now. And I'm auditioning for Leap of Faith. And he's like, stop. Oh my God. Can we go back and do this interview again? This would be so much different. And I was like, oh, no, that's totally, it's cool. And he's like, what are you auditioning for? And I was like, oh, I'm auditioning for your sister. And he was like, oh, you'd be a great sister, but you're too perky. You got to play my girlfriend. And I was like, whoa, wait,
sign me up.
And I was just like, your girlfriend? He goes, oh yeah. Can you tell them? Like, I really see you as the girlfriend much more. And I was like, oh, I will be sure to tell them. Did you want to rehearse some of those lines right now? And he goes, yeah. And literally I was like, wait, okay, I think I know some of them. And what was it he said? He said something. I was like, and this is where we would kiss, right? And he was like, yeah, do you want to make out? And every time I kind of go through that whole thing in my head, I'm like, that actually really happened. You know what I mean? He goes, yeah, you tell them, you go for it or whatever. Anyway, I don't think Leap of Faith ended up happening. I still think they're kicking it around. A lot of things happen kind of like that on Broadway where things are getting workshopped. Oh my God, there's so many shows that I got to audition for that never really made it to anything. But he was really funny during that interview. I think another person was Paul Rudd. And Paul.
Oh, I like him. I love him.
Yeah.
He's so
Paul
cool.
had actually come to see The Wedding Singer. So when I walked in, he was like, wait a second. I said, I know this is so weird. Like, I'm a friend of Steven's. And he goes, yeah, but where are you? And I said, yeah, you met me the other night in Wedding Singer. And he goes, but you were Julia Gulia. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, what are you doing here? I'm like, like, well, this is a side gig, and this is an opportunity for me to talk to professionals like yourself and maybe ask one question of like, hey, if you could do one thing or give one person advice, what would you do differently, or whatever it is
Right.
about the career. And he's like, well, let's do something different with this interview, like come sit on my lap. And I was like, don't have to ask me twice, mofo. Okay. Anyway, I think those situations I think were really fun, really interesting. I think my biggest, some people were just not nice at all.
Really?
But then there was people like Denzel Washington that literally said, so you're studying acting. Are you doing straight acting? Well, I really like musical theater the best because straight acting is a little. And he goes, straight acting is the only acting.
She's doing
like,
her Denzel.
yes. And I was like, oh, yes, that's what I meant. Straight acting is the only acting. He goes, are you studying the greats? And I was like Shakespeare? Bitch, no. I hope you are, because that's really how you become a good performer, is studying the greats. And I was just like, oh my God, Jesus just spoke to me and told me I need to train harder, learn
Literally.
faster. And I walked out of there feeling like so invigorated, but I never did read any of the Shakespeare because it's just too damn difficult for me to read. It's just in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, same.
So, yeah. And when Denzel sees this, Meredith, he'll know I didn't follow through.
Well, I'll tag him. He'll be like, damn it, girl. I told you. I'll tag him. I'll be like, Denzel.
That was his advice, was to continue to study the greats, because even in musical theater, you should be studying where all of this art came from, where all of these moments before and where all these intentions came from. So I thought that was really interesting for somebody that had reached, the height, the pinnacle that he has. He's still telling people, study the greats. Just because you're there doesn't mean you're there. It can go away in a heartbeat. Keep studying. So I am continuing to study.
What about De Niro? I mean, there's just something about De Niro. What was he like?
So Robert De Niro, I've had a couple of altercations with him.
Altercations.
A couple of auditions and a few interviews for some of his movies. And I think he started kind of getting familiar with my face. And I had a call back for one of his movies. God, I can't remember the name of it now. And I got called back, and it was when I went in there, I did the lines and stuff, and he kind of does his, can I see her for, Terry or whatever it is? And I was just like, oh my God, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, I want to see her for another part. And he's like, can you come back in an hour? And I was like, I can come back whenever the F you want. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like, I want you to take these sides and come back in an hour. And I'm going to have you read with another actor. So when I came back, he described, it was myself and another gentleman. And it was a scene in which I think it was a movie Matt Damon was doing with him or something. And it was supposed to be like a circle. He was explaining that it's like a circle shot of two people waltzing, and then they kind of kiss, and then into it changes the two lead characters type of thing. So this was the first time that I was this close to maybe getting a part in a movie. And it wasn't a huge part. Please, don't get me wrong. I was not like the lead in The Greatest Showman or anything. It was only a small part, but it was weird when he was like, and guys, for the camera shot, this is how close I need for you to be. And he goes, is it okay if I waltz with you? And yes, sir.
It is okay.
You can wrap your arms around me and teach me whatever you'd like. And I don't mean for it to sound like that. I was just like, please, whatever. And so, I'm here waltzing with Robert De Niro. And he goes, and then what I need for you guys to do is I need you to tip your heads and kind of go in close, but I need it to kind of be slow and at this kind of angle. And I was like, is this happening? Is Robert De Niro like teaching me how to do a stage kiss? Like, I was so out of my body. And then it went to this other guy, and we were waltzing, and we had to kind of do this on stage camera kiss. And he goes, okay, yeah, that was great. Can we do it again? And can we shoot her from this way? Great, fine, we do it again. I never got the part. So obviously there was a bad kisser or just didn't have the right looks. But I didn't end up getting the part in the movie. But it was really fun to kind of, work with him. And he really does. He really stands back and
mm-hmm. He's in it.
you know what I mean? Like he's so in it and he's thinking 24/7. He's not a quick thinker. He really thinks about every decision that he's making, which I thought was really cool. We're also going back a really long time, and I'm trying to remember. God, as you're asking me these questions, I'm like, this is a long time ago. I wish I could say it was like a year ago, but it's not. Obviously Robert De Niro is still working and still kicking and still creating and doing all the things. So for me, he will constantly be, well, for many people, he'll be an inspiration. So yeah, it was awesome. It was very awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
It seems to me like as I'm talking to you and listening to the twists and turns, it's like, nope, not that way. Yep, this way over here. Nope,
Right.
we're done with that part of your life. Let's
Yeah.
sidebar over here. Like everything seems from an outsider, hindsight's 2020, that
Right.
you've just had the most amazing stepping stone journey that's just like, okay, now let's come this direction and let's go that direction. Do you feel that internally that your life has been very kind of cosmically maybe steered in certain directions?
Well, I don't want to say I think everything happens for a reason, but I kind of sometimes do, like things with your voice. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that happened to me to, grow stronger. And, I wasn't taking no for an answer. I just think it came at a time when I could work with a pedagogue, and who is a vocal technique specialist. They're not just people that are speech therapists. You had to do like like even learning how to get your vocal cords to literally vibrate together again.
Yeah.
You kind of felt like a baby and you were helpless. But I think for me, my biggest thing when I was little, when I was a little kid, was like I just wanted to be a mom. I couldn't wait to be a mom. So I think, both losing my voice, both, getting married, you start readjusting like yourself, like, wait a second, I got to check in with my husband because the show is running late or rehearsal is going late or whatever it is. And then when kids start coming along, for me, when I had kids, I wanted to be out of New York. I was just finding it too much. I was finding it overwhelming. There's a lot of people that have the skill of being able to balance auditions and motherhood. And for me at the time, I just wanted to be with him. I just wanted to be with my son 24/7. And I said to my husband, I said, I want the white picket fence and the Labrador retriever. And I just want those things. So I will say, I think, at the time when I lost my voice, I was like, wow, I gave up my career for a while to raise kids. Was God sending me a message like, hey, you made this choice? You got to take it as it comes. How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And, when they started getting older and being able to work with such a specialist with my voice, I was like, no, I do want it. I do want to be able to sing to my kids. I do. I may not be Broadway caliber or in a show ever again, but okay, I do remember this. We were at the Kaufman Center and I was with two dear friends, Dana and Jerry. They're well known in the business here in Kansas City. And we were at the Kaufman Center and they were doing a Christmas sing-along. And they were standing next to me. My husband was here and I was just bawling. And they were like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Did something happen? And I said, I don't know if I will ever be able to sing a Christmas song like ever again. And I think that's when it hit me. I was like, I can't not sing Jingle Bells or Silent Night. Like, I don't need to do a CD, but just give me, And I do remember that moment with them, and they were just so, they were so, I'm not going to get emotional, but they were so supportive during that time that it made me realize that it wasn't even just for me. It hurt to even just to speak to them and say, will I ever sing again? And I was just like, I can't have this pain when I speak. And I think, yeah, I think that was a time when I knew my life was changing. And I think, as you're saying, as the question started off, are there times you kind of feel like you need to reinvent yourself? And I feel like I'm there again because TikTok is changing, Instagram is changing, social media is changing in itself. And it was like, my kids are changing. They're getting older. They're making decisions of their own. They are now not, I mean, I was never a mom also that was saying like, hey guys, be my puppet and dance, bitch, dance. You know what I mean? That was never me. But I will say that now seeing that my son is going to be going off to school in a year and it's just going to be the three of us, that's going to be a totally different feeling. That's a totally different vibe. And then in 3 years from now, I've got my daughter leaving, and then it's just myself and my husband. In my fantasy world when I was a kid, it was never going to be just myself and my husband. I always imagined myself with a house full of kids forever. I always imagined somebody needing me, a child coming to me and saying, please open my fruit snacks. And that's no longer the phase that I'm in. I'm in the, Mom, I'm not sure if I have true friends. Mom, why did I not get this role? Mom, why does it feel so strange that, marching band season is over? They're asking much difficult questions, and I need to be in a headspace to be able to answer those questions. But I'm also in that headspace where it's like, okay, now how do I work on my second act? What comes next for me? And for me, I mean, honestly, I think for a good 2 years, I mean, I was writing Suburban Update for a while, and I started just going, what is this leading to? Where is all this social media going? Because I'm not monetized. I don't make money off videos. I don't do brand deals. I'm doing this for shits and giggles, which is why when I say to people, guys, I gotta say, it doesn't take a whole lot to click repost, to click share, to send it with a couple of friends. And when I see friends that I know are always on my page, supporting my page, you know what? They may put up a fart video that's like with 29 graphics and they've got 9 different filters on. And you know what? It may not be some kind of incredible sketch from, what's his name? Luke, Trey. Oh my God, what's his name? Trey. Oh my God. Anyway, it may not be one of those like high definition videos that you're like, oh my God, everyone should see this. They spent so much time on this video. It's the people that are there in your comments all the time that you're like, yep, I'll go to their page now and I'm gonna share their last 3 videos, because that's the way I think it should work. I feel like we should all be helping each other because it all goes around twofold. But when you have larger creators that you've been following for a long time and you're like, bitch, I'm going in and watching your content, clicking like, share, leaving a comment. I don't even know if you've been to my page. Yeah. Actually, with my VPN, I know you've been to my page and you're just not liking or commenting or sharing. That's not a friend. This is not a friend. So I think for me, it was like, when that started happening really a year or 2 years ago, I was like, I got to find something else. It has to be something else. And that's where Stupid Face came from, Stupid Face Studios. And I'm so excited to be busy. And I'm not like busy where it's like, I'm not there for my kids. I'm still able to, it's still on my schedule, but I'm able to make a difference to other kids. And I think that's probably what my second act will be, or a tour. We're working on stuff, but I think right now teaching is just giving me a ton of life and breathing a ton of breath into what makes me happy right now.
Well, totally. I mean, that's the thing is like, right, we define as we get older and as our priorities change and our passions, it is like, okay, now what feeds my soul? You know what I mean? Right. I think a lot of times social media tends to be cathartic. It tends to be almost like a video diary where you say something and that transforms you, and then people comment, and then you're like, okay, that's a challenging thing. I look at it as almost like a vlog, like a dear diary, like where am I at on the planet? And then I change, or I get that off my chest and then change. Let me see here. Let's see. I just want to get to that person's questions. It's my ex-husband's wife who's asking these, by the way. Oh, wow. If you could choose any show to be next, what would it be and why? There's a question. There's your Hugh Jackman question.
Any show. I mean, I think roles that I don't know if I will ever have the opportunity to play would be like, Julie Andrews in Sound of Music. I probably have gone past that age now. Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. I really do love the classics. Not that I haven't gotten into the Six vein. That's obviously not a show that's going to be casting somebody that's older. But I think for me, a joy was when MTH Theater here in Kansas City called and said, hey, do you have any interest in playing Mama Rose? And I was like, holy heck. Okay. If you're going to come back, I mean, I don't know if there's a much bigger role to come back with than Mama Rose, because a lot of people in the Broadway community joke, like when you've played Mama Rose, you're ready to kind of retire. Do you know what I mean? So when Audra McDonald did it, people were saying, is this her swan song? Is she retiring? I don't know if Audra McDonald will ever retire, but for me, it was a great gift from Tim Scott and MTH to test myself, because My endurance was not the same. Um, but I realized that for a role like Mama Rose, especially after just losing my mom, it was one that I really wanted to see if I could do. So I walked into it saying, "Hey, listen, I'd love to try the role. Thank you so much. But if my voice doesn't hold up, what would you guys do?" And he's like, "Okay, great. We can work with that. We can work with that." But going in and trying was the biggest thing for me, and it was really the best thing that I could have ever done for myself, because I feel like now I proved to myself, them saying, you're the chances are like 98% you won't sing again in
Wow.
that kind of
Yeah.
kind of style. So I was thrilled to be able to return again, but I think for me, maybe the role hasn't found me yet. Maybe that role is not out there yet. And maybe I'm inventing my own show. Maybe that's the second act. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if Broadway will ever happen for me, but I think I'm proud of myself for what I've accomplished right now, and I'm happy with where I am. Um, but there's tons of roles out there that lots of us would love to take, a crack at. But I think for me, being a supportive mom right now is probably one of the biggest. I guess Annie,
Yeah.
Get Your Gun is going to be another big one. Annie, Get Your Gun would be another one. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what theater brings. I think loving the teaching right now is a big role for me, and I'm thrilled to be able to,
And
be
you have a
blessed to be.
website already for that. It's stupidface.com.
Yeah,
And
stupid face. Yeah,
and
and you
people
could
go
work
there
through.
for like acting and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we have a stupid face. So the Stupid Studios, and essentially you could do it through Zoom, which
No,
now
you
you've
can't. It's a
logged it.
joke.
Yeah,
We're
exactly. Now
joking
you've
with that.
exactly. But I'm so sorry to anybody that was waiting. That was so long. But we were realizing that there was lags in the laptop, which is why we rebooted
Yeah.
everything yesterday and literally took everything off the laptop. So obviously more work needs to be done. But usually when I do Zoom, I'm doing it through my phone. It just makes it more. It makes it easier, because there are times that I get a text from a mom that says, "Hey, listen, their audition is tomorrow. I'm so sorry, we didn't realize that you had space. Is there any way you could fit her in for a half hour?" So I may be waiting at Sadie's dance class, and I'm teaching somebody on a monologue when I'm just in the car. And I know that's
Oh my
not the
gosh, yeah.
perfect setting, but you get the lesson. You still get the time. You still get the
Yeah.
intention. And there's so many kids that what I live for, Meredith, is this: when they go, "But oh,
The
oh," and I'm like,
aha.
that's, to me, that's the biggest applause ever, is when a kid that's like 15, even 12. No, my youngest one right now I think is 9, and she was like, "Oh," she was going to audition for Mary Poppins, one of the smaller parts, to play Jane. And she was just like, "Okay, so do I go dressed as Jane?" Like, it's just even starting with those
Yeah.
little basic things to just go, "I'm making a difference. I'm making a difference." And I can even do it from my car. So I think that's a big role for me right now, and I'm loving that part.
I love
I don't
that.
think I
And I
answered
think
her
that, like,
question, but
honestly, no, it did. I think that it's always about feeling that. I tell my husband it's like red light, green light. It's
yeah,
like like this feels good, that feels bad, this feels good, and really honoring that, and not taking crazy vocal cords as the end of life, like, and letting it
right,
get you down and getting in your head about it. It's just like, okay, turn the steering wheel. Let's see what's next.
right.
We're keep buffering. I
Yeah,
could sit here and
sorry.
talk to you forever. We literally it's actually recording in the background, which is great because it records us separately. So life is good
Okay,
there. Like in podcast world, it is going out. It should be separately. So we're good. But
okay.
I think we're definitely touching the fire every minute that we keep going. It's just
Oh,
like
okay.
you want to keep screwing with us.
Yeah.
Which freaks
Meredith,
me
I
out because
just
I haven't.
want to, I just want to ask you quickly though, because you're really out there exposing yourself with a lot of things that are happening right now, like politically and stuff in the States. And I just want to know, for you, do you feel like this is your passion? Is this your second act?
I don't know. everything about this is improv. Like clearly
Right.
everything about podcasting is improv. I just want to keep figuring out, I guess, who I am. Like, what do I love? Like I never thought I'd be podcasting. I never thought I'd have over 1 million followers across platforms. Yeah, I never thought I was political. There's so many I never.
Great.
Buffering again, but
I know. Sorry. And I'm trying to just keep a straight face when you're like, oh my God, did you just hear my stomach?
No, I did not. Was it good?
Oh, that was a big grumble. Yeah, sorry.
She's like, I'm starving to death. I've been on this podcast for.
Can you also hear this?
Are you sloshing?
No, because this is like a sitting chair, but it squeaks like terribly. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work in this room either.
Oh, the crisscross TikTok chair is fantastic. It's huge and it's quiet and it goes up and down. I'll send you the link.
Crisscross. Okay.
It's like you could sit crisscross applesauce.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Yes. So like being a Gen X, I always like love to have my feet up. But yeah, I'm actually in a solid chair, but prior I was in the world's squeakiest chair. And I'm like, oh, I got to move this. Because every time I move, it was like, creak. I'm like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I think that this is the time in our lives, because I have a junior and a freshman, and then I have a 29 and a 27-year-old. I think that this is our time when our kids start to hit that high school, when we go, well, what the shit do I want to do? Like, I actually have time. What do I want to do next? And that can thing to actually have space to think about myself is very bizarre. It's a very bizarre feeling for me. But yeah. Am I still frozen?
No. Oh my God. Hang on a second.
What? She's like, hold on. Hugh Jackman is calling. He heard me speaking about him live on YouTube. Don't disconnect anything.
No, it's been plugged in, but it just said your phone is about to die. That could also have been a massive reason. But it's been plugged in for the entire weekend down here. So
it's all right.
That means that this cord thing doesn't work unless the light switch is on. Okay, good.
Well, welcome to Hollywood there, newbie. Welcome to freaking Hollywood. I have to show you the ropes because clearly, Jesus God.
Thank God it was somebody that's kind of nice. I mean, you've been so kind with all my buffering and my Wi-Fi issues and logging on and
I met my mom, so Lord knows what's going on over here. But I so appreciate you coming on. You're just heaven. If you're not following Tina over at TikTok, is Tina Madlibs. And you're the same on Instagram, right? Tina Madlibs on Instagram.
That account is up and running now. Only as of 2 days ago, but it's also Tina Maddigan Mayor. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So go check her out over there, and also stupidface.com, where she's doing acting classes and giving you like all the deets, all your kids. If you want get your kid in there, she's going to be able to help you out over there. But Tina, thank you so much again for spending time with me. Your resume, your pedigree is absolutely insane. I'm honored and blessed to have you on the show. And I'm honored and blessed to have you on text message as an actual friend. And so like, I hope that we never lose touch, because I am just
We are buffering.
So please hit me up, because I'd love to come see you wherever you're at. And you can listen to the podcast back, Tina, and see what I actually said at that moment.
Okay. I literally was like, we are buffering.
I know. I can't even. Thanks so much for following.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
And keep
thank you. And everybody, I will see you here next week, hopefully with a little less chaos, as I'm back in Chicago and under normal Wi-Fi situation. So I'll see you guys here next week.
We'll come back. Thanks.
Exactly. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the TikTok Famous Podcast with Meredith Willett. If you're loving the unfiltered stories and behind-the-scenes truths, Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show. Until next time, let's get